Let's get this kicked off. Okay, today is Tuesday, May 6th. It is 6:31 p.m. Easton Zoning Board of Appeals. I am the chair, Ryan Cook. Sitting on, well, we're not actually going to do anything first. I think the first thing is Stephanie Danielson, who is going to talk about a proposed increase in the Easton Zoning Board of Appeals fees, filing fees. So,
It's a public hearing.
right, but there's nothing for us to vote on this first thing, is there?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's what we were just discussing.
All right, let me take that back.
And Jeremy's going to read the public hearing notice. And then
Yeah, okay. So, sitting on this hearing this evening, John Curran, who's our vice chair, Jeremy Kay, who's a clerk, George Hardiman, and Ronald Handberger. Jean is an alternate on this one. And Jeremy, if you want to read this in.
Sure. The Easton Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 6, 2025 at 6:35 p.m. to be held at the Colleen Corona Room, Town Hall, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Massachusetts, for the purpose of increasing permit fees for applications submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Copies of the full text of the proposed change being considered can be viewed at the office of the town clerk and the Planning and Economic Development Office at 136 Elm Street, Northeastern Massachusetts, during regular business hours or on the website. Those who cannot attend and wish to submit written testimony for the day of record may do so by sending an email with the subject to the dped@easton.ma.us. I think that's about it.
Okay.
Suzanne's just going to pull up the screen.
Okay. All right, Ms. Danielson, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Stephanie Danielson, the Director of Planning and Economic Development for the Town of Easton. And thank you for holding this hearing and inviting me this evening. So as discussed at the last Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, the various town permitting boards and departments have been asked to review and increase their permitting fees to help offset the increasing costs of those fees and those permits and processing the permits. All evidence has indicated that the last time any of the boards had updated their fees was probably more than 20 years ago. So I can show you what we are proposing. What was proposed was a 25% across the board fee increase. Suzanne, is there a next?
Just the arrows.
There we go. There we go. So currently, your fees are primarily $400 for an administrative appeal, a special permit, and a variance permit. And then for limited dividend organizations or nonprofit organizations that are submitting for a comprehensive permit, it is $1,000 plus $50 per unit, or $1,000 plus $25 per unit. If you increase these fees by 25%, your administrative, special permit, and appeals fees will be $550, and your comprehensive permit fees will increase to $1,250, with an additional $60 per unit for a limited dividend organization and $35 per unit for a nonprofit organization. And did you want me to talk a little bit about how the fees compare to other communities?
Sure, why not?
So if you look, our fees are higher than some of the communities, but if you compare us to Rainham, the administrative appeal is $500, the variance is $200. Taunton, the fees are $300 for an administrative appeal and $1,000 for a variance. Special permits are $1,000 and $500.
Oh, that was for non-residential. Yeah, 500 for
Correct.
commercial, 370 for
Yes.
residential.
Yeah.
Okay. And we chose not to break them up between non-residential, commercial, residential.
They're currently not categorized that way.
I mean, they're a city, so they're dealing with a lot more. Wow, some of these other towns, I mean, $150 in Stoughton. Good Lord. Canton, $100.
Yeah, we do seem to be on the high side. Well, can I ask you a question? How many do we? I didn't get. I don't know if I got the yes. I can ask a question or not, but
No, go ahead.
I do.
That's-
How many of these do we typically like variances in a year? Do we get and or appeals? Do we get special permits? Do we get on an average year? Would you say, or do you have any idea?
So up until probably last year, you were doing 15 to 20. That's dropped over the last couple of years. It's been more around 9
9
or 10.
variances? Or?
Both. I didn't separate it out by.
So like not. I feel like we've done more than 9. But so 9 total is what you're saying. I feel like we do more than that.
We've had
You've had.
months where we've had like, oh, nothing on the docket for like 2 months.
Yeah. I'd say over the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Whereas historically, you've had many more.
So in any event, so say we have 20. I mean, we're talking about like $2,000 a year difference, right? And does that make a difference?
It makes a difference. It's not going to make a significant difference, but when you add it up with all the other fees that the town is increasing, and it's basically everybody's doing their part. And I just pulled up on the screen, we did an analysis, and we shared this at the last meeting, that shows what the cost is per application. If we look at we break it down by all of the specific, the very unique tasks associated with processing an application, and you'll see the first column, this is all the work that Suzanne does. This is the clerical work. Of course, I spend much less time, but when I do spend time on applications that come before the Board of Appeals, it's usually because it involves contacting town council, getting an opinion, or doing some additional research, and maybe doing a more involved staff report, helping out with more detail on the staff report and providing technical assistance. But if you break it down, the total minutes, it totals up to 12 hours per application. And then we have 11 hours per meeting, and then a total of 6 hours of my time. So that translates to $722 per application, just for Suzanne's time.
And then for your time, that it would be $354. So that the total cost per application would be $1,076.
And when you say administrative appeals, that's like if an appeal from a zoning, like the building inspector giving an order or something like that.
How is the deficit made up? If each application costs $1,000, and right now we're charging $400, where does the other $600 come from?
Out of the town general budget. It comes out of the operating cost.
Is there any way for people to ask for us to waive the fee on a case-by-case basis?
I do not think so. And what I would like to make clear is so the town generally hires the staff that it needs to support the boards. And again, most of that cost comes out of the operating budget. We're not looking to totally cover salary costs, just looking to increase costs to help offset some of that cost.
Anybody else on the board have any questions?
No, I don't.
Anybody from the public have any questions? Nope.
I was going to ask if anybody on the notice had said if people wanted to, they could send in emails. I guess not, an email with commenting on this. I guess I take it we didn't receive anything.
I checked today.
Okay.
Yeah. And just for your information, John, if I may, Ryan, if we were, so Suzanne checks, she does this for the planning board, we also do it for the Conservation Commission. So prior to any meeting, we check to see if anyone has submitted testimony, and we make sure that that becomes part of the information that's provided to the boards.
Okay.
One more question. What's the downside to us not raising the fees? Do we have it? I mean, are we gonna have to cut people or cut time or cut people's salary?
It's ultimately, if the town is not able to cover the expenses, that there will be a reduction in support and services.
Do you have any idea why with some of these other towns that they charge so much less?
Probably because they, and what we're hearing is other towns are starting to look at this because other towns are in a similar situation and looking at overrides to help with their operating costs and cover those. I think people, they adopt them and just continue doing business as usual. And it's not something that gets looked at or evaluated on a regular basis.
Okay.
I mean, and I think on the other side of it too is most communities don't want to raise their fees so high that it makes it difficult for people to
Right.
get the permits that they need to get their work done.
Right.
That's my concern.
Right. And another way of looking at that, though, might be compared to what an applicant's going to be spending on whatever project they're trying to get passed. 400, 550 is kind of a drop in the bucket.
And that is something we looked at and considered too, is what is the overall cost? And again, the town's not trying to add to that cost, and especially if it's a burden. So for example, the Conservation Commission reviews a lot of septic repairs. People have to get their septic system repaired. You don't want to overburden them with additional costs on that. So you look at what is the application being sought in that instance. There's a wide variety of projects that come before the Conservation Commission, and a lot of them are for commercial development, and it's the cost of doing business. But again, we're trying not to raise the fees so high that it really creates a significant burden on the applicant.
Would it be fair to say that these time estimates that are up on the screen right now are estimates? There could be some applications that take considerably less time and others that might take considerably more.
I would say that these are conservative numbers where they're more really middle of the road, and that it middle towards the more easier, and that it's when you get a complicated one where those hours go up quite a bit.
Okay.
There are, there are things that are hard to measure sometimes. Suzanne frequently will get a lot of phone calls related to the permit that's being submitted, questions that get asked, just assistance with the application process. We try to make it as easy as possible for people so that they can do it on their own, but a lot of time and energy goes into that as well.
So can I think about it out loud here? Like, I could see myself going along with John's thought that it's a drop in the bucket on the variance and special permit thing, but not sure about the administrative appeals. You get an order from a inspector and you want to appeal it. It seems $550 seems like a high amount to appeal that. Just thinking out loud.
Well, it's more than 5 times at least one other town referenced here.
I mean, realistically, that can be abused.
Can you elaborate?
The zoning enforcement officer can just, nope, well, you're gonna have to appeal it. And not saying that is what happened, but it could.
Like if you're demanding an enforcement, or if you get an order from the inspectional services to.
Well, you put in an application for a building permit. They're like, no. You're like, all right, why not? Well, it doesn't. It can. I don't like to think poorly, but you have to also think, could it be abused where they just deny things.
Knowing that the fee is so high.
Knowing that the fee is high.
Oh, so you're saying the same thing I'm saying, kind of.
Sure.
Yeah,
My challenge here, like I'm very open. I'm not a big government person. Government is necessary for administration and treating everybody fairly. The challenge becomes if someone, does the fee get to the point where they feel that recourse is punitive? That's where I look at raising fees on some things. Like if someone is in a tight monthly budget because all the inflation over the last number of years, and now where they want to appeal something, but now that really eats into their project budget. So what they want to do is a small project, but now a significant portion or bigger portion is going into trying to get in front of us. I mean, it shouldn't be hard. That's my concern when I see fees going up. It's supposed to be easy to get in front of us. Yeah, somebody would need to make a motion.
Well, it would be a motion to close the discussion.
Yeah, we got to do that. All right.
That
so we have a motion.
that's what we were confabing about before. Does unless somebody else has something that they want to ask or say, I'll make a motion to close the hearing and discussion portion of this presentation.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second?
We do have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing, we would just vote by hand vote. Right? So that's 5-0. Okay. Now we can get more to the discussion part. Because really that part was for questions.
Right.
So not sure who wants to start or if someone just wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed fee increase as outlined in the materials.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Handberger. Any discussion?
What kind of vote does it need to pass?
Well, we have 5 members, so it has to get 4 votes. Okay. Okay, so motion on the floor is to approve the increase in fees as proposed. All those in favor? That's 4. All those opposed? That's 1. And so that will move forward.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much. Suzanne, do you want me to shut this down? Or? Thank you very much.
Yep. All right, next item on the docket, variance Nicholas A. and Kristen Jalusis. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Very impressive.
All right.
No one ever gets it right.
Some of us just get lucky. You ready, sir? Okay. You want to read this in?
I will. The Easton Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 6th at 6:40 p.m. at the Easton Town Hall, Colleen Corona Boardroom, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Massachusetts, on the petition for variance of Nicholas A. and Kristen Gialusis. I'm sure I didn't do it well. For property located at 2 Christina Drive, Easton, Mass, Assessor's Map 8U, Lot 61, for variance pursuant to Easton Code Book, Chapter 235, Zoning, Section 235-54B3 and Appendix B6, Dimensional and Density Regulations to allow zoning relief from minimum lot requirements to construct. In addition, the agenda will be posted at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. The notice is also available on masspublicnotices.org. Those who cannot attend and wish to submit written testimony may do so by sending an email to dped@easton.ma.us. Interagency comments, planning board, no comment, building department recommended, environmental planner recommended, board of health noted. Please note that you must have the appropriate size septic system if adding a bedroom. Police department complete, fire department no comment, water department no comment, affordable housing no comment, historical commission no comment included.
Okay. You ready, sir?
Yes.
Take it away.
Oh, yeah, you have to announce who's sitting.
Oh. Yes. Same as before. Come in. Yeah, there were no changes, so same 5 members. Okay. Now we're ready.
Good evening, everyone. Appreciate the time. Nick Gialusis, 2 Christina Drive. And for what it's worth, on the previous item regarding the fees, actually incredibly reasonable. I know the surrounding towns are incredibly cheap. You know, Canton, I think, is behind the times. I've seen significantly higher fees in cities and towns, sort of one ring outside of the radius that you've used. You know, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. So a modest increase like that. You know, very much to your point. You know, drop in the bucket in comparison if there's a large corporation going for a variance or a special permit or something, and they're going to spend $1 million. What's an extra $150 or $200?
Somebody's watching this on TV right now, probably
Yeah, and
screaming at my comment, but that's okay.
and as someone that, you know, may have to apply for a building permit in the not too distant future, I'm sort of shooting myself in the foot, but you know, it does seem very reasonable. So anyway, I am here today asking for a variance, you know, specifically for the side setback on my property. And the reason is sort of twofold. So the house in question is on the screen there. It is a 3-bedroom colonial that was completed in 1997. It is built on what is technically an undersized lot, so it's not 40,000 square feet, it's just about 31,000. And for whatever reason, the developer who constructed this entire neighborhood used very sort of irregular lot shape. So my lot shape is trapezoidal. And also the orientation of this house on the lot is for some reason not centered and also at an angle. And so even as it sits today, if you're looking at this picture, the rear left of the house only sits 19 feet off the property line, which actually comes at an angle, and you'll see on a future slide. While it is a nice house, it is only a 3-bedroom house. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the narrative, But the reason I'm here today is sort of twofold. Number one is that, again, it's a 3-bedroom house, and my mother-in-law, who was diagnosed with congestive heart failure and received a heart transplant in 2014, and was doing well for a while, is now no longer able to live on her own and has been quite literally living in our basement. So my wife has to run food up and down to her. The second reason is that I need that 4th bedroom, but you can't do stairs, so it has to be on the 1st floor. So I can't just retrofit my basement and put a bedroom down there. And then, given the current configuration of the house, which again I'll get into a little more in a little while, it doesn't make sense to go forwards, to the right, or to the rear. The only practical way to go is to the left, as you see it on the screen here, without either substantially disrupting my neighbors or some sort of incredible financial hardship, or just way more work than it would actually be worth. So as I move on, as you approach Christina, there's a little, I call it a roundabout. And as you come around the corner, this is the angle that you approach. So I'm not sure how well you can see where the grade sort of slopes off, but my property line is basically in the middle of that little hill, that little crest of the hill. So even though there's nothing to the left of me, there's actually an easement. It's an unbuildable lot. My house does sit pretty close to this quote-unquote imaginary line. These are just some architectural drawings of the house front and rear. So why does it not make sense to go forward? The septic tank is in the front. If I was to go to the right, I would still need to apply for a variance because I don't have enough room to extend my house to the right without encroaching on that setback as well. So underneath the great room all the way to the right, where you see the fireplace, or the chimney rather, is a 2-car garage. So in order for me to maintain a 2-car garage, I would have to swing. The addition would have to face the street. The garage doors would be facing the street, but I don't have enough room to add a 2-car garage. So I'd either be giving up a garage space, or not doing it at all. And then on top of that, the room with the chimney has vaulted ceilings, which makes living in the house while ripping off the roof and adding an addition on that side sort of impossible. In the rear, there's a large concrete and paper patio. And underneath the deck is sort of an outdoor bar area that was recently completed. So I've only purchased the house in the past 13 months. The previous owner had just completed a project that my understanding cost upwards of $250,000. Money I would never spend, but he had a vision and he completed it, and then for whatever reason had to move. And so to go rear or to go back to add a bedroom, I would have to rip up sort of all of this brand new work, which doesn't even consider reconfiguring the inside of the house. And so if you look at the floor plan, I know the words are kind of blurry here, but can you see the mouse? Okay, perfect. So this is the front door. There's a 2-story foyer here, and then as you come in, again, if I was to try to go forwards, I would have to move the septic tank and find another place to relocate it. This is actually the kids' playroom right now, and this is our dining room. So if I was to put a bedroom on the front on the 1st floor, I'd have to basically make it off of the dining room or the living room, which just simply isn't practical. Off to the side, again, it's a vaulted ceiling in the family room, which means I'd have to create a hallway. But again, I can't even build off of to the right side here without requiring a variance as well because of how narrow the lot is. And then to go off of the rear, I would have to disrupt either the guest bathroom or laundry room or the kitchen to go backwards and rip up what is a effectively brand new concrete and paper patio with a retaining wall and some power running through it. And so this is a bird's eye view. These are both the same image. One is just zoomed in so it's easier to see. But basically the sort of shaded lines here, this is the existing footprint of the house as it's positioned on the lot. So you can see right here, I'm only about 4 feet off of the setback, the existing setback. So the dotted line here is the setback envelope. On the left-hand side, this dotted line is my driveway, and so I have to swing 90 degrees into my garage. And so in order to build this way, again, the garage would have to face the street, but I only have 34 feet. A 2-car garage, you need at least 20 to 22, maybe 24 feet. So I'd still be in the same scenario. And then again, going forward, this is the distribution box. Most of the septic tank you can see up here. So I'd have to, in order to maintain the required distances, I'd have to disrupt this entirely, which I'm hoping I don't have to do and or modify it slightly. So this is an aerial map of the neighborhood itself. Basically, these lines here, this black line is the existing distance between my neighbor at 6 Christina Drive, which is to the right of me if you're on the street, and my house. And so without taking actual measurements, assuming that this was granted and I was to build this addition, this red box is representative of the addition, that this blue line, even after the fact, is the actual distance between me and my neighbor to the left. So you can see that even in a scenario where I was to build all the way to the lot line on the left-hand side, my neighbor at 5 Robin Lane will always be significantly further away from me than my neighbor to the right at 6 Christina Drive is currently. And the reason for that is because 1 Robin Lane is an unbuildable lot. It is a drainage easement as part of the stipulations that were imposed back in the mid-90s as part of this development, because the lots are undersized and sort of irregular shapes. That 1 Robin Lane, 1 Christina Drive here, and then 14 Old Country Way, these are all what are designed to be common space and unbuildable lots. And I'll show you more on that on a different slide. So this is just an aerial view, again, with the red box as a representative of what the addition would look like. Just showing my neighbor's house as it sits today, my house as it sits today, all this green space, all this tree covering in between, and then my neighbor at 5 Robin Lane, who would be the direct abutter I'd be moving closer to. So again, I understand I'm going closer to what is a property line, which I understand is a real property line. But for real world applications, this isn't really imposing on my neighbor. He would have been here today to speak in favor of it. He actually did submit a letter, but he is in Minneapolis for work. So he was hoping that the letter was sufficient. This is just a picture from my neighbor's house across the street showing the distance between the two homes. So this is my neighbor at 5 Robin Lane. This is my house. And it's kind of hard to see here, but this little silver nub in the ground is a underground propane tank. And it is 10 feet off of the corner of my house. So the proposed addition would only come another 4 feet off of that. So as you can see from even just this view, coming 14 feet off the house really isn't going to be substantially detrimental to this neighborhood in any way. And the HOA that provided a letter of approval and recommendation, and my neighbor, who I'm going closer to, both feel the same way. So this slide basically just shows the unbuildable lots. So these are the easement lots, just colored in, so you can see that there's no way, shape, or form that the lot that separates my neighbor and I will ever be built on. And then this is just the proposed first floor with the bedroom. The layout, the idea behind this design was that the existing layout of the house does not have to be significantly altered. So if you were to draw a line right here and sort of cut this off, you'll notice that I didn't change anything about this. So the idea is that we continue to live in the house while this is happening, basically build the entire addition, get it weather tight, get it almost ready to be moved into, and then open up this wall. And the only way I'd have to do that is eliminate this closet, because there is I'll go back here actually. So the idea was to build the addition, and then the way that we would start accessing that would be to just take out this closet that's right here. So the idea was not to disrupt the rest of the interior of the house. And then this first floor bedroom would, again, allow my mother-in-law to come out, do laundry, use the bathroom, and then, go to the kitchen, help herself to food, go to the family room, watch TV, whatever it might be. Just allow her to be a lot more independent, because right now we're sort of catering, and waiting on her hand and foot, which is, necessary. We're happy to do it, But if it could make everyone's lives easier and then give her that feeling of independence again, or a little bit of independence, that would be much appreciated. And then this is what the proposed looks like. So if we're going to go out that far, figured we would go up a second story as well, keeping it under the keeping it under the by right building height, and basically moving our master bedroom over, or primary bedroom over, and then what is our existing primary bedroom would become another space for overnight visiting nurses and things like that, because there are occupational therapists and nurses and stuff that are regularly coming. Sometimes they are there for 30 minutes to an hour. Sometimes they're there for 12. It's really a crapshoot. And so in the event that someone does need to stay overnight because she needs the care, or we have her sister coming down who lives in New Hampshire to sort of visit or give us a break, the ability to have someone not sleep on a couch and have their own sort of space would be helpful. And then this is just a 3D rendering of what that would look like, and the design behind this. The intention was to keep it looking as original and as intentional as possible. Basically, the end product was designed to look like it had always been that way. So when this was designed by an architect and built back in 1996, 1997, this was all very seamless.
Okay.
I've said a lot.
You're all set?
And that's it. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Members of the board, any questions?
I'll go. Are you adding one bedroom or two?
Technically, it would be 2.
Okay. And the Board of Health said you needed to have an appropriate size septic system if adding a bedroom. I don't know if that comes into our analysis, but are you going to have that
Absolutely.
for having two additional bedrooms?
Yes. So should this be granted, before I go to apply for a building permit, I have an engineer sort of lined up, ready to evaluate the system, and if we need to adjust, add, or modify, everything else is going to comply with modern standards.
And I don't know how this is going to fit into the analysis either, but I was just looking at the picture. Does your fence encroach on that lot next door?
It does, yes. The previous owner installed a vinyl fence without looking at the property lines or anything like that. I did make the HOA aware of it, and they appreciated the fact that I was being forthcoming about that. They even joked that I could have just erased it and they would have been none the wiser. But he said, listen, deal with this first and they'll address that afterwards.
So it's consented to. Got it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a couple of questions. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. How many square feet is your current house?
Above grade is 2,400 square feet. If you include the basement and the garage, it's 33.
Is the basement finished?
Most of it. There's a storage room and a utility room, but most of it is.
How many square feet are you proposing to add to the house?
It's 435 square feet per floor. So the first and second floor would be 870.
And I know I read in here that if you put the addition on as proposed, the back corner will be 3 or 3.5 feet to the property line. If you put the addition on the other side and had to extend the garage out 24 feet, how many feet would that be from the property line?
It's also at an angle, so it would be probably about 10. So I'd still need a variance, and my neighbor to the right has already said that he would not be okay with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Common area is owned by a homeowners association?
Correct, there's an HOA, which we're all a part of.
And how many houses in your particular homeowners association?
I believe it's 14.
So it goes all the way,
So-
I drove up there the other day and,
So the HOA, it starts at Old Country. So it's called the Applewood Association. There's a sign right off of 138. So when you turn in onto Old Country Way, there's 2 houses on Old Country.
yeah.
And then as you drive straight back to the little roundabout, you can either go left down Robin or right down Christina. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 on Robin, and then the rest are on Christina. And I believe that adds up to 14.
Yeah, because I noticed they were all spread out. I'm assuming it's because the common area wouldn't support construction of any, a house with a septic system.
Right. My understanding was that when they went for the approvals for this, that because the lots were undersized, the stipulation imposed by the town was that there had to be a certain amount of unbuildable lots to maintain an in perpetuity common space. And there's actually, if I was to go back, so if you look here at 6 Christina, this green lot here is actually bigger than 6 Christina, but, and this is politics going back 30 years that I'm not super familiar with, but my understanding and the sort of original owners that are still in the neighborhood mentioned that, this lot, because the builder didn't adhere to something, his punishment was that they eliminated that lot entirely. So that's also now an unbuildable lot.
Yeah, I think you probably answered this, but the effect of this addition would be to convert your house to a 5-bedroom house. I mean, I understand that one of the upstairs bedrooms is for the support people that are helping your mother-in-law, but it would still be a bedroom.
Correct.
And do you know if the septic, as it's currently configured, would permit a 5-bedroom house?
I haven't looked into it that far yet. I do know that when this was designed, it was designed on old standards, which I believe are from 1992, that had higher flow rates. And every other house in the neighborhood has 4 bedrooms. I think there's only one other house that doesn't have 4. So I believe the septic, and I'm not 100% sure, but the initial sort of investigation and the as-built indicate that it was oversized at the time, and the flow rates, those standards back then were a lot higher. I believe it was like 150 gallons per bedroom, whereas now I believe it's closer to 100. So there's a strong likelihood that the septic, as it sits currently, could support everything that's proposed. And if it can't, and we have to modify it, I'm okay to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, one of the economic considerations you brought up in your presentation was the fact that building out towards the front, right? It would cause you to have to move the septic field. So it's
Right.
possible with the project as designed, you might still have to do something with the septic.
Yeah, but that's not part of this board. I mean, all he's looking for here is approval of getting closer to the boundary, and then the rest of it is building department, board of health. He'll deal with them separately. That's not our.
Yeah, no, I think it's just, we have to go through that list of considerations, and I thought one of them had to do with costs, but that's fine. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Any questions from members of the public? Rummel.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple, and if the other attorneys in the room would help me out here, but have you considered whether or not you could get an appurtenance, which is a form of an easement, so that would encroach just in terms of setback, not in terms of use, but in terms of setback of the lot at one Robin? Because this person at number 5 is not really in a butter, right?
Right.
He's lives within eyesight, but not a butter. I just wondered if you looked at that and whether or not you could just sort of extend out so you're really not encroaching in the side setback. What you do is draft something that says you have an appurtenance or a right of setback, a type of easement on the easement, if you will. I don't know if we can double whammy it, but I just thought that perhaps that way you could avoid some of the conversations that we're having about the 3 feet. So you'd only have to encroach presumably 12 feet, or not encroach, but the invisible line that is the setback would encroach 12 feet into one Robin Lane. I wondered if you looked at any of that.
Are you saying almost like create an easement that would bend the property line around what I'm proposing? So it was mentioned briefly, and the answer was that the HOA, the trustees, do not like the idea of sort of making an exception to convey land or to grant something like that as a one-off, because then the concern is that it would start a domino effect where my neighbor at 3 Robin Lane would want to do the same thing. 3 Christina Drive, 2 Robin Lane, because they're all up against it. That they'd have to, if they granted it to one person, they'd have to grant it to all of them.
Okay. I was also thinking maybe a swap where if you took so many square feet that went into that easement, you could give it up in terms of green space or unbuildability at the tail end or something. But it's just a question. Thank you. Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anybody else in the public? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close.
I'll move to close the discussion.
And one, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hardiman is a second. All those in favor? It's 5-0. All right, discussion or a motion? I mean, me personally, like, I think it's very reasonable. One of the things when this was first submitted, understanding it's a homeowners association, we asked the applicant to get a letter from a homeowners association. They did provide that, saying that they're, as the association, they're fine with it. I thought that was an important thing to get because we're dealing with an association and it's the association's land as the abutter. So there were no complaints, and there's no one here in the neighborhood to complain either. As far as square footage and everything else, I wouldn't care if you add another 2,000 square foot to the house, as long as it stayed within the 3.3 feet that the association seems to be okay with. So that's all I have. That's why I didn't really have any questions. You guys asked them, and it's fairly straightforward. It's just a matter of whether or not we want to grant it or not.
Right. So I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to approve the. Well, we should make sure we step through. I wasn't sure I'm consistent about this. So step through the standards before we so the motion's on the floor. We don't have a second on it. But let's just step through. So for variance, 3 parts: special circumstance related to the soil condition, shape, or topography, land, or structure. Clearly, the lots, all the lots in there are all different sizes and shapes, but the position of this house on the lot, even on the 5 Robin Lane, they're very close to the setbacks as it is. I'd say every house in this development, nearly, if they wanted to apply, they'd have a case to meet this first standard. Little interpretation of the provision of the Town of Easton zoning bylaw would involve a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. What they're trying to do, bring the mother in. Otherwise, I'm assuming the alternative is what a lot of us are dealing with our parents at this point is professional care outside of the home.
Right.
And on a personal side, like we're dealing with that with my mother-in-law, and the costs just keep going up, over $12,000 a month. So I would say that is a hardship that way. Desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. Intent and purpose of the bylaw is it's really sort of create harmony in the town by zones. And again, we don't have any neighbors saying it's undesirable that they're that they don't like it, and even the homeowners association had a letter of support. So I'd say, based on my interpretation, and we could take input from others, but it seems that we meet this, and now it's just a matter of whether we want to move forward. So we do have a motion on the floor, has not been seconded, to approve the variance as requested.
I'll second it if it's,
Second from Mr. Handberger. Any further discussion? See none, all those in favor, we'll do a hand vote. That's a 5-0. So you are all set, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
It's a big one.
Yes, yes it is.
I will tell you, my mother has lived with us for almost 3 years. It's not easy.
I mean, and I don't know how much of a narrative you read through or remember, but we lived at 212 Elm Street from 2017 to just about a year ago. And it was a 2-bedroom house. So both my kids shared a room, and my wife and I had a room. And we bought this as like the upgrade to 3 bedrooms because we're done having kids. We were like, oh, this is perfect. And then this happened.
Yep.
So yeah, it's
Well, I'll say at least you're lucky to be able to pull this off for your mother-in-law.
yeah. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, next, variance of Mark W. and Devin E. Kanopka. Did I pronounce that correctly? Fantastic. Hey, we all have skills. We all have skills. All right, Jeremy, you ready to read this one in, sir?
I am. The Easton Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 6th at 6:45 p.m. at Town Hall, calling for a boardroom, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Massachusetts, on the following petition: variance petition of Mark W. and Devon E. Kanopka for the property located at 23 Oak Leaf Lane, Easton, 02356, Assessor's Map 6R, Lot 94, for variance pursuant to Easton Code Book, Chapter 235, Zoning, Section 235-16A and 235-54B3, and Appendix B, dimensional and density regulations to allow zoning relief from minimum lot requirements to construct an in-ground pool. Those who cannot attend and wish to submit written testimony for the record may do so by sending an email with the subject to dep@easton.ma.us. Interagency comments: environmental planner, no comment. Planning board, no comment. Board of Health recommended, it says, please check you are not within 20 feet of septic system. Building department recommends. Police, no comment. Fire, no comment. Water, no comment. Affordable housing, no comment. Historical commission, no comment.
Okay. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thanks for coming out on this wet and cold evening tonight. So I am Tanya Trevison. I'm with Mirioni, Shaughnessy, and Udy, and I'm representing Kanopka tonight. And his property concerns 23 Oakley Lane in Easton and the proposed construction of an in-ground pool. For the project to proceed, we are asking for a variance from the 20-foot rear yard setback requirement under section 235-16A of the zoning bylaw. The project plan, which is up on the screen for you this evening and also in front of you for ease of reference, illustrates that the in-ground pool would be situated 14 feet from the property line, so we're looking for approximately a 6-foot variance. The property is part of a subdivision within an open space residential development known as an OSRD under portions of the bylaw that are no longer in effect So the plan was approved back in 2021, or sorry, 2001 by the planning board. And the OSDR allowed for smaller lot sizes and setbacks and certain amounts of required open space, much like in the previous case. So the second page of the handout that I gave you this evening is the plan that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Board in 2001. And you can see the yellow highlighted portion is identified as parcel C, and that is all of the open space. And there's a 20-foot wide swath of, it's not on this plan, it's on the second page of the handout that I gave you just tonight. So there's a 20-foot wide swath, a path behind the applicant's property. That parcel that's highlighted in yellow is owned by the homeowners association, so the applicant is unable to purchase additional property to expand his own property to meet that setback requirement. So we're representing that the property meets the, or the project meets the criteria for variance, and I'll go over those respectively. The first one is for special circumstances relating to the shape of the property. As you can see, the property here is unique in both its size, which was created by the OSRD, and its shape. It's a panhandle lot. And due to these constraints, the applicant's home is sited further to the rear of the property compared with the other homes in the neighborhood. And this is the only area on the property to construct the pool due to the location of the septic system and the utilities and the small lot size. So the second criteria that we're looking at is that the literal interpretation of the zoning bylaw would involve a substantial hardship. The hardship here would be the applicant's inability to construct the pool as proposed without the board's relief. And as I said earlier, the applicant is unable to purchase the land behind his house, which is that parcel C, because the open space strip is owned by the homeowners association and is subject to a conservation easement for the benefit of the town to use as a recreational path. The third criteria is that a variance would not be a substantial detriment to the public good and would not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. So here we represent that the variance would result in no harm to either the neighborhood or abutting property owners. And the board has actually considered a nearly identical variance application in 2012. And while I understand it's not precedent for the board, it is instructive in this case. The case involved the proposed in-ground pool within an OSRD. And in the decision, the board stated, quote, "The purpose and intent of strictly adhering to the setbacks in an OSRD is to protect neighbors and abutters from unwanted development," unquote. And it also found that, quote, "No property owners will be affected as land that abuts the rear of the property is undevelopable property." So it's an essentially identical case. And similar to that decision here, no property owners to the rear of the property would be affected by the project. The open space strip is undevelopable, as I said earlier. And finally, the applicant has 5 letters of support from the abutters, including from the homeowners association. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Okay, who wants to go first?
How wide is that path?
20
The
foot.
path in the back, it's 20 feet.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty big.
20 feet wide.
20 feet wide, I'm sorry.
What's on the other side of it?
I believe is it wetlands or just,
So it's privately owned on the other side of it, and I think that's one of the letters of support that we have.
Which one is that?
So it has a West Bridgewater address.
Yeah, a bridge 115 Brookside in Bridgewater.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was that Rickard? Was that the name of the person?
yes.
And is that because? So I don't know where this is. Is that? Are those? Is that the other side of that in Bridgewater?
No.
Just the listed address of the owner of the property.
This is over near, close to the Brown Balone,
Keach Park.
yeah, past Keach Park.
Oh, okay.
question?
Yeah, go ahead, George.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
These letters of support that you've provided to us, how were these solicited and who solicited them?
So the abutter, the applicant, Mr. Konopka, sent the letter to the abutters and requested that they, indicate, sign off on approved or not, and that's how they came to be.
Okay. When I look at the addresses on the people who submitted these letters, I'm trying to match them up with the direct abutters.
So the address, they're number 1 Oakleaf Lane, number 16 Oakleaf Lane, number 19 Oakleaf Lane, and number 27 Oakleaf Lane.
Okay, so on the map here that we have that says 23 Oakleaf Lane, it looks like he has 2 abutters. Are these, any one of these letters from those folks?
So we have Ray Gaudette, so if you're looking at my property, he's to the right of the property, so. And then we have Jen Capeless, but she's signed by her maiden name, I think, because that was the name of the on title.
Okay, so she would be 27 Oakleaf?
Yes, yes.
So the one that says lot 6 is, there's a letter here from someone who has lot 6, and there's a letter here from someone who has lot 4.
If you give me the names, I can describe what they are in the neighborhood.
Well, you have the Stewarts at 12 Oakleaf,
So they're not direct butters.
and you have the Mendozas, it looks like, at
Mendonca's, they're
Mendon-
also not direct butters. They're the neighborhood.
and the Keepless at 27.
Capeless, yeah, so they're direct butters, they're
So-
not Gaudette's.
So is that so the Keeplesses are lot 6? So it says you're lot 5 on this map, and and your abutters are lot 6 and lot 4, and I'm just trying to figure out who those people are.
So, Mark.
Yep. Here,
Yep, that's you.
so then lot 6 would be Gaudette, and then lot 4 would be Capeless.
Thank you.
Do we have a letter from the Gaudettes?
Yes.
I don't see that one.
Would they have signed under like a different name or a maiden name or
We
something?
signed it under Raymond Gaudette.
I don't think it's in the materials.
No. Yep, it is. It's 19 Oakleaf Lane. Ray got it? Yep.
It just might not be in the package that we were provided.
I can submit the copy I have if you want at this time.
Yeah, I mean, we can all just take a look at it, but
Were there any responses that were negative?
No. Or not.
And did the solicitations go out to all of the abutters or all of the neighbors?
I
Yeah.
believe so, yeah.
And there was the question about it being far enough from the septic system. It is more than 20 feet from the septic system.
I'm
I'm not sure if that's within our purview. I'm just asking.
I can't tell from the plans that I have. I don't know if you know, Mark, from your engineer.
I don't know, we used our Rim engineering to put together the site plan, so along with Easton Pool.
Yeah.
But I can't confirm that.
I believe it's in the front, right? So, it's not,
It looks like it's on the side, maybe.
is it on the
It's on
side?
the side of the house, yes.
Okay.
Was there any consideration to moving the pool closer to the house? It's 13 foot off the backside of the house in order to reduce the requested nonconformity.
So my understanding from Easton Pool was that it had to be so far from the rear of the house, something to do with windows and access to the pool, so they tried to move it as close to the house as they could, but the required setback from the house. So that's where the
Okay. Oh, so it's not close enough that people are climbing out a window on the second floor and trying to jump in.
Oh my God, no, don't do that. That'd be terrible.
That's why they're pool specialists.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Any further questions from members of the board?
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any.
All right. Any from the members of the public? Ms. Rummel?
Quick one, where's the front, I mean, it's kind of this weird lot with a 20-foot instead of 150-foot frontage. Which is the front, which is the side yard? Or there are not two side yards? Is it variance from the 20-foot or is it variance from 15?
It's the rear
It's the rear.
because it's 15.3 foot from the side.
Well, you've decided then that that's the side?
Well, I'm looking at.
I'm just wondering where's the front?
Well, the front of the house is on the right side of the drawing.
Just right here where the stairs are?
Correct.
Yeah, where I'm putting
There-
the mouse
There's
here.
a house
But that
here.
doesn't make it the frontage of the house. That just means it's the front of the house.
Well, the frontage is actually the.
On the street,
It's on the
20 feet.
street, it's the
It's
20 feet
20.9.
way down there, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just saying that you have an argument for two side yards like you might for two front yards, right? But you're getting you're varying it from the side that backs on the homeowners association strip?
Yes, that's,
All right, thank
that's,
you.
yeah.
You have other questions?
Anybody else in the public? I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll move to close the hearing.
Motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Hamburger. Well, unless Mr. Hardiman wanted it.
Nope.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys wanted to arm wrestle.
You can have the next one.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing the hearing, vote by hand. That's 5-0. Okay, time for discussion or a motion. For me, the way I look at this is the OSRD was always interesting. So it was interesting that council brought up the principal of your firm was the chair of the zoning board for that previous hearing. It's the wording of it was very interesting. The fact that the intent of the bylaws is to obviously keep space between neighbors. Not, it's not a city, we're a town. And then the OSRD, where there's all this open space being returned to town in exchange to getting smaller lots to be able to fit more homes in. So you have this weird 20-foot strip that, is it mowed by chance? Or is it wild?
No one maintains it, it's just, it's for lack of a better word.
Okay. So you really have this 20-foot wide, supposed to be available for the public to use, but it's overgrown, so unless you like ticks. Not harming anybody, and even the rear abutter is sent in a letter of support. So if we were to go through this, again on the variance standard, special circumstance related to the soil condition, shape, or topography. Well, I think again, same thing as the previous one. This is an OSRD. There aren't many in town. So I think that would apply. A little interpretation of the provision of the Town of Easton zoning bylaw involve a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. I mean, you'd probably have to make the pool smaller. I asked specifically, about getting closer to the house, and it's a safety concern from the experts in building a pool. Like you can only get so close to prevent, people doing stupid things. And there really isn't anywhere else in the property to put it because of where the tank and the septic field are. Unless you like putting a pool in the front, you got a propane tank there, that to be moved. But if you want a pool in the front yard for everyone to see, that doesn't make any sense. And desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment if every house in the development was in favor. So I don't think there's a threat of detriment to the neighbors and the public good. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add or any other
I
discussion.
think to the point of the support of the neighbors, the letters might have been much different if the proposal, or if they were going to be building the pool in the front. Right? I mean, that, and, yeah, I don't know anything about OSRD, that was before my time, but it seems like that strip was just created to put enough square footage in the open space to make it pass muster.
Correct. Yeah, a certain percentage of the development had to be open space. And so that's how they did it. They put this 20-foot strip back there. And if they needed to make it wider to get in there, they would have done that. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so I don't have any other comment.
Okay. Anybody else? Any further discussion? So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the variance.
A motion on the floor to approve.
Second.
Mr. Hardeman seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, hand vote. That's a 5-0. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members.
Two things we have to sign.
I have them. That's for you, yeah.
Okay. All right, next, the Davis Companies. I think she's gonna pull stuff up.
Oh, it's these two.
These two, okay,
Yeah, I
thank you
think it's
very,
already shared.
excellent, thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Kay, if you want to read a special hearing, 7 o'clock, the Davis Companies.
Sure thing. The Easton Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 6, 2025 at 7 p.m. to be held in the Colleen Corona Room of the Town Hall, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Massachusetts, on the following petition. Special permit, the Davis Companies for property located at 15 and 25 Robert Drive, Easton, Mass. Assessors map 10R, lot 213, and map 10R, lot 190 for special permit to pursuant to Easton Code, Chapter 235, zoning, section 235-56, special permits, and Appendix A2, table of use regulations E4 and E5. Applicant seeks permission for a drive-through window in connection with a restaurant that will have seasonal outside dining. The notice is available at masspublicnotices.org. Those who cannot attend and wish to submit written testimony for the record may do so by sending an email with the subject of the address of the property to dped@easton.ma.us. Comments received. Fire Department recommended. DPW not applicable. Planning and Zoning Board, at their meeting on April 28th, 2025, the Planning Board voted to recommend the special permit for the use of a restaurant with a drive-through window and outdoor dining. Should the Board of Appeals vote to issue the special permit, The applicant will also need to seek site plan approval for the change in / new uses. The board supports the use, however, they express concern over the configuration of the drive-through and outdoor dining area. The property location of the outside dining is over a portion of the existing sidewalk. The drive-through traffic will be directed behind and will need to travel the full length of the rear of the plaza building to exit. The board also felt the type of restaurant using the space would dictate the potential queue lengths during busy hours of operation, which may affect the travel up to and through the drive-through. These concerns could be worked out in site plan review if the ZBA approves the special permit. Environmental planner not applicable. Board of Health recommends. Historical Commission Affordable Housing Trust not applicable. Police complete with no comment, and water not applicable.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. For the record, Steve Glowacki with R.J. O'Connell and Associates. We are the civil engineers on the project. Joining me today for questions, should they come up, is Matt Katz from the Davis Companies. So we're here today on behalf of the applicant, Easton Highlands LLC, care of the Davis Companies, to request a special permit for use based on Appendix A2 of the zoning table use regulations for a proposed restaurant with seasonal outdoor seating and an associated drive-through, as was noted. The project will require also site plan approval from the planning board, as was noted in the comments earlier. The site plan, the existing site, is located at 1525 Robert Drive, collectively known as Highlands Plaza. It's a 13.77 acre site bounded by Foundry Street to the south, Robert Drive to the west, Target to the north, and finally a wooded area to the east. The property is currently occupied by an existing shopping center, including tenants of Big Y and TJ Maxx with additional tenants, and with the associated surface parking, landscape areas, drainage, and utility systems. The proposed site is within the Furnace Village District, Eastman Street Subdistrict, and is outside the FEMA 100-year floodplain, aquifer protection districts, and wetland resource areas. There are currently 574 spaces on site, parking spaces, which I will get to a little bit later. The proposed site, the applicant is proposing to convert an existing drive-through restaurant. Let me pull up the other slide. There we go. The applicant is proposing to convert an existing restaurant to a proposed restaurant with a seasonal outdoor seating and a drive-through. The conversion is proposed on the south end cap of the main building located at 25 Robert Drive, Unit C9. It's the former location of Pizzoni's Pizza. There are no additional building modifications proposed except for perhaps a protruding drive-through window at the edge of the building, and some interior fit up, of course, but that's under a different application. The parking area to the south of the building will be reconfigured to accommodate a drive-through of approximately 8 spaces and a small outdoor seating area, as was noted, currently shown with 28 spaces. 28 seats. The reconfiguration will result in a loss of 3 spaces, leaving a total of 571 spaces where 230 are required. So there's quite a surplus of parking spaces. Access to the drive-through will be from the southwest. If I may flip back to the previous slide. The southwest through this driveway off of Roberts Drive, and cars can circulate in and around with some signage and pavement markings into the drive-through. And I'll jump back to the blow-up. In through the drive-through where they can place their orders at the order board and drive up in the queue to pick up their order at the window. The anticipated hours of operation are generally 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., although they may vary depending on specifically what the final tenant would require. But generally, they'd be within that window, and they're not anticipated to extend beyond those windows of time. The anticipated number of employees vary between 5 and 13, again, based on specifically the tenant's requirements, and an understanding of the number of vehicles the facility can service per hour are not known at this time. And again, that'll be vetted out through planning. You can see they're concerned about the drive-through as well. From a parking perspective, there are currently 574 spaces and a loss of 3 spaces anticipated with the petition. But again, the requirement is 230, so there's quite a number of surplus of parking available. From a zoning perspective, nothing on the building is changing, and I'll go back to the overall. Nothing on the building or the site is changing. Therefore, the zoning criteria remains the same as it is today, with no anticipated impacts to the zoning in a negative way. In terms of the zoning permit criteria, there's been a narrative that's furnished with the application, and I believe it's been outlined in the staff report in terms of our adherence to those criteria and the way we intend to meet those criteria. I'm happy to go through all those bullet items. I'll leave it up to the board. And in summary, we're in receipt of the staff report. We believe we can answer the comments for the planning board sufficiently. We don't believe that that's a major issue, and we're happy to discuss that with the planning board at the time. We believe it's a benefit to the town, of course, and the new restaurant with the outdoor seating and drive-through is anticipated to fill what is recent vacancy by Zonies. And I believe, again, in the petition, we've demonstrated compliance with the special permit criteria, and we're happy to field any questions that you may have.
But are you doing this for the purpose of attracting a tenant, or is already a tenant who with a maybe proposed lease based on this being approved?
I can answer that. So we've been marketing the space for lease, knowing that Pizonis was going to be shutting, and seeing that this end of the plaza is less active because of it's actually higher than the road. Mm-hmm. So, and you really just have this citizens ATM. We thought of ways to make the area more active, so that includes the seating, and with having this end cap, the possibility of a drive-through. We have one vacancy already in the plaza, which abuts this one called that was the old Kinfolk restaurant, and have had a lot of difficulty attracting tenants to that. So. This is this enhancement has allowed us to enter into a letter of intent with a prospective tenant. They would be in the smoothie sales, and happy to introduce our prospective tenant as well.
So markings in part of those just for visual cues, and obviously that's not in our purview, that's going to be in site plan, but and then I was curious what the saw cutting, where I see the saw cuts in the parking lot, et cetera, what are the saw cuts for, like what exactly, this is all building up to be able to put in the curbing and everything for construction of the drive-through?
That's correct.
Okay.
The saw cuts, this plan represents the layout plan, the layout of this. For the full petition, when it comes to our planning board presentation, we're going to have to discuss grading, stormwater, and the like. So these saw cuts are really to facilitate picking the grade up, because the grade drops toward the back of the building, picking the grade up enough, fitting the islands, and adding this quite a bit of open space so that we can make the grades work. And then obviously there'll be repaving around these saw cut limits. As for your question regarding signage, we are proposing not only striping, but also some directional signage on these islands to channel people in and around this island. We believe that gives folks, first of all, a little bit more queuing room should it be needed, but we feel that this type of tenant, this queuing would be sufficient.
And I saw it was proposing like an extra 162 additional cars per day in the traffic study.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
That's correct. And again, that's a speculative report
Right.
based on,
Right. Certain type of restaurant, go into the report, and they just, here's a factor.
That's right. We don't anticipate this would be the type of restaurant, everyone's familiar with the Chick-fil-A model where they have double queues, and we work on those as well, but I don't believe this is that type of tenant, in terms of generating.
We hope they're that successful, but
Of course, yes, of course.
No, we have that with the Taco Bell that's going to go in at Bay and 106, double queuing. Was that one for orders placed and one orders placed ahead, right?
Yes,
So, okay,
I think the same applied to the Chipotle too.
right. And then I'm assuming around the outdoor seating areas and being bollards installed.
That's correct, yeah. What we showed on the plan, and again, it's more detailed on the site plan, but, the site plan petition, but we are showing a string of bollards around here to section that off. Although there was a comment made about this parking being at the end of the sidewalk, we pushed it away and grabbed a little bit of additional area, so still have sufficient clearance in front of the doors, and again, sort of section this off so that there's no safety issue or the like, where people may walk into the drive-through.
Will there be additional lighting outside?
It's not anticipated that, the parking lot lighting, there's a parking lot light right here, and we believe that will sufficiently light that area. That's not to say that when it comes time for the building permit, they may say, well, we want a new sconce or something in the front that may, shed some light down in there.
Sure. And what are the proposed hours of operation of the outdoor seating? I mean, this is the commercial strip plaza, residential way in the back. But what are the proposed hours of operation of the outdoor seating area?
Well, we assume those would be congruent with the hours of operation. And as I mentioned, generally we're looking for between 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. For the weekdays, and on Saturday it would be 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sunday finally 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. We assume it makes sense from a business model to have the outdoor seating available for the same times as the shop would be open, and based on the parking lot lighting and things like that, we believe that it wouldn't be a safety issue to have that outdoor seating available at those times.
All right. Could you tell me this? So Monday through Friday, you said.
Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Okay. And then Sunday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
You said 8.
You said 8 earlier.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
for Sunday, you said 10 to 8.
Yes,
Yeah.
10 to 8. Did I just say 9? I'm
You
sorry,
said
10 to 8. Can't read my
Okay,
notes.
good. I just had to scratch out my own notes, and I got to scratch them out again.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
My apologies.
Okay.
Can't read my own writing.
All right. Anybody else?
I noticed when I was reading it, the study was made in Bloomdale, Minnesota, and not locally. It referenced to,
The traffic study?
yeah,
I'm afraid I didn't notice that. And
and it was like from 2017.
they may, so, yeah, so it sometimes, I think the reference you're looking at, so the traffic report was prepared by Vanessa and Associates, who are up on the North Shore of Massachusetts. Some of the information they use, which is from the ITE, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, it references different uses around the country to base its data on, in the absence of having actual data for this particular model. So they may evaluate 10 different drive-through restaurants in different places in the country that have a like demographic. So that's where you'll see the references from other places. It wasn't prepared in that regard. It just uses that ITE reference, which is a common accepted practice for transportation engineers, again, in the absence of actually having counts, because there's nothing to count yet. So they rely on that ITE, again, the Institute of Transportation Engineer data to provide that.
And is the study adequate enough to reflect current computer uses of online ordering, which I don't understand, but...
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So ITE gets updated annually, and the traffic engineers, of course, have the most recent data. And the interesting thing about that is, post-COVID, there have been wild fluctuations in that. You know, we saw during the COVID, 2020, 2021, wild swings in, you know, where the drive-throughs were congested because people weren't going inside. That's leveled off quite a bit, but again, that's reflected in the ITE data.
You said you thought you were gonna have a smoothie place in there?
Tropical Smoothie is the name of the prospective
What,
town.
say again?
Tropical Smoothie Cafe?
Yes.
Is it a franchise, or
Yes.
Yes.
are there any others around?
The closest one is in Mansfield, Foxborough line.
Oh, the Foxfield Plaza over there?
Yes, they just built it up.
Okay.
You can see it, I think it's Joe and Jake's.
Oh, Jake and, okay.
Jake and Joe's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's both the two names.
Yeah.
We got you.
And then the next one probably is Dartmouth, Fall River, in this area.
Okay.
Is Pizone's closed?
I believe they've shut. The lease doesn't expire till August.
Okay. Anybody else have any?
Ron picked up on the same point that I had when it came to looking at that memorandum from Vanessa and Associates. I appreciated your explanation, but it seems to me that comparing wintertime use, because it was, not only does it go back to 2018, but it also is
like November.
calculating usage in the wintertime in Minnesota. And I just don't see how that's applicable to what we have here. But it seemed, I think what you're saying is that the number of studies are limited.
Well, it's not that they're limited. They draw on studies from different things. You know, they look at the winter use. They look at various times of year to apply that data. Sometimes we have, for instance, we'll have actual door counts that say, oh, the tropical smoothie use generates X amount of door counts, and then you can extrapolate those to the busier times. In the absence of that data, we have to rely on different cross sections of that.
Yeah.
Of that data. So, you know, it draws from different places, but the understanding is that the demographic is reasonably the same in terms of population and the like. I'm not a traffic engineer, by the way, but that's my understanding of the way the data is compiled and sorted.
So do the other franchises, do they have drive-throughs, and is a drive-through necessary to make this business viable?
The one in Mansfield has a drive-through, not the one at Peaches Place, because it's over at the stadium. Dartmouth has a drive-through. New Bedford has a drive-through. Fairhaven.
Are those yours? Are those,
No, they're not.
Those are just other franchises.
I think, for the record, he should probably tell us his name.
That's a good point.
Oh, my name is Ollie Spears, and I'm with Cabo Fresh's LLC that we're coming together. Myself, Anthony Vicente, and Tony Vicente. We're looking to have a franchise here in town.
Yeah. Thank you.
And is the drive-throughs necessary to make the business viable, you think?
Yes, definitely. The drive-through just helps, especially with the months in summer when it's too hot. Just helps with the business, with the door gas, and people walking in. It just helps with the numbers for sure.
And we're not being asked about am I wrong? But we being asked about the outdoor seating area or just the drive-through?
The drive-through, because this district needs a special permit for the drive-through.
That's all we're being asked about.
The seating area, almost all seating areas require a special permit, and this isn't what, you're not proposing it for it to be restricted in time. Like some of the other outdoor seating areas have been restricted that they can't start before a certain date and must be terminated by a certain date. In this case, this is looking for no restrictions.
Right, I believe we are looking for a special permit for the outdoor seating.
Right.
Per section E4, drive-in, open-air restaurant, outdoor dining facility, or other establishment providing food and beverage with no live mechanical entertainment. And then the drive-through use, as you mentioned.
Any further questions from the board? No. Any from the public? Ms. Rummel?
Just real quick, could you show me, the planning board had mentioned its concern about having to exit through the entire back of the mall. Would you show me just draw with a mouse, how we get in and out?
Sure, so I'll start with what I understand their concern to be on the master plan here, the overall plan. So vehicles come in, if you can see the mouse tracing, yeah. Vehicles come in here, enter the drive-through, and then exit. And I think the board, and now I'll go to the blow-up if that's okay. I think the planning board thought that vehicles would leave to the left.
Sounded like.
Yeah.
It sounded like it can end up back out being wide or something.
That's right. And right away when I saw the comment, my thought was that we can provide some pavement markings or even a sign over here directing people to the right to exit, back to the street. I think that'd be the best, most effective way, where we'd put a sign over here and again, some striping or even a sign on the island next to the
If they go left, that can start interfering with delivery trucks and stuff like that. It'd be a nightmare.
It could, but I will say, let me pop back to the
So
big.
you're gonna go back out the way you came in?
Exactly,
Okay.
that's right, yeah.
That's fine. Thank you, I just wasn't getting it.
Yeah, and I think even if people were to try to go through that area, it's amply wide enough. There's certainly parking through here, and it's a wide swath. I mean, yes, there's trucks potentially parked back there, but I don't think it would cause a safety issue or people would be trapped, trying to get around a truck or the like.
But that wasn't the plan necessarily.
It's not the plan,
Okay,
yeah.
thank
It's not the
you. Nothing further.
efficient plan,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Seeing no further questions.
Well, I got
go ahead.
one comment. Wouldn't it be easier if the way in and out were reversed?
You couldn't do that because you would be
Wrong side of the
you'd be
car.
on the wrong side of the vehicle. So when you pull
You're
up,
right, okay.
yeah. Believe it or not, I have seen drive-throughs where people they'll literally pass your food in a basket, but it's obviously not very
Yeah.
efficient.
In England, it works.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Anything else? Not, I will entertain a motion to close.
I'll move to close the hearing since
Mr. Curran goes 4 for 4. Do we have a second? Mr.
I'll
Hamburger?
second.
It's 50-50. You guys are splitting it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, vote. All those in favor, vote by hand. It's 5-0 to close. Any discussion or a motion?
should we go over?
We should go through the special permit items. So social, economic, or community needs which are served by the proposal. I think that's always a hard one, but the reality is sit there and say, well, it's always good, we want to encourage business to come into town, right? Traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading. This has an abundance of parking. There's always plenty of open spaces in here, but you said how many? There needs 251 or 257, and there's over 500?
230, and we have 571 remaining.
So that's fine. Traffic flow, safety, and part of that's going to be hashed out through the planning board as well, and all the other departments that, should they get through here, they're going to have to go through that. Adequacy of utilities and other, it's a continued use. It's a restaurant to a restaurant. Neighborhood character, it's a strip plaza, so it certainly seems to fit. Impacts of the natural environment. We're not changing use, so I can't see how there'd be changes. It's not like a hair salon doing hair and coloring where they'd need a tight tank. Potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax base. Again, it's another business in a business zone doing the same thing, serving food as the previous business. So I don't see a challenge there, unless anybody sees something different.
No, I was actually going to say on the impact on the environment. As I understand it, you're going to be reducing the impervious area as part of this plan, so it's actually
That's correct.
on that criteria, it's a benefit.
Oh, so in that island, that's going to become green space?
That's right, yeah. The result here is quite a bit relative, increase in impervious area where this is going to be robustly planted.
Okay.
We have, because we've been putting the petition together for the planning board, we have, I don't have it with me, but we have our landscape plan as well, which is, robustly planted in that area with some shade trees and, other shrubs and things like that. I'm not a landscape architect, but yeah, there's quite a bit of increase in pervious area.
Okay. All right. We step through it. Anybody have any further discussion, things to add, or a motion?
I'm just going to add the idea of getting back to the traffic flow, referring to a study from 8 years ago, 1,500 miles away, seems silly to me, but that's, even with your explanation, I can't necessarily get past that.
To your point, I think what I'll do is because obviously we're going to go before the planning board, and rather than facing these same questions, I'll have him evaluate the data and the best way to present it. Maybe the way it's presented in the report, because obviously it's a bit misleading because the study looks like it was formed in Minneapolis. But I'll speak to our traffic engineer about tailoring the information, just the way it's presented, so it's a little bit more palatable and it makes a better statement rather than this notion that we're pulling this data from some obscure place in Minneapolis. And I understand your point, by the way, very, very well put.
So I don't necessarily see it the same way. The challenge when you're trying to do traffic studies, they're basing it on models. There is no model for it. So basically when I read through that, I just saw it as, to have no data, they got to find data from somewhere and draw some comparisons. And the fact that you're trying to find a similar size plaza, an end cap, similar traffic patterns, et cetera. So as far as traffic traversing on 106, et cetera. You're going to end up with places that you're like 1,500, 2,000 miles away, or whatever. I think that throws it off, but I think what they're trying to do is they have criteria that they have to, we have to find something that falls within probably 10%, and that's why we end up with Minnesota, trying to find something similar. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
I see a business opportunity to do a new study on the East Coast.
Okay.
Well,
No, I very well take your point, and then this is, for me, this is an experience to say to the traffic engineers, we have to find a better way to present. Because somewhere in Minneapolis, someone's saying, why are you referencing Easton, on some report?
And by the way, it's not a knock. I mean, one of the things I appreciate about this stuff is that I looked at it as an engineer and thought, yeah, this is what they did, and you're an attorney. So you're like, attorneys like to question everything. So
guilty as charged.
But what it does is that, different voices. That's why we have 5 members of the board.
No,
it's a good catch.
So, go ahead. No,
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no.
You sure?
Yep. Positive.
Help me understand what level of review the traffic will get after tonight. Like if we approve this, what level of review will the planning board or any other entity apply to the traffic study?
Yeah.
Because I understand the concerns about the traffic study, and I look at the plan and I say to myself, it could get a little congested. So I'm wondering, like, if we approve it tonight, does anyone else take a hard look at that?
Yeah, the planning board does, and then DPW, police, fire. I mean, they still all are involved in that process as well. So it's not like it goes from this board, it just goes to the planning board and nothing else gets looked at. Like actually everything goes under a microscope. We're looking at it from a planning board perspective or zoning bylaw perspective of, all right, they're asking for basically relief. Can we give them relief, and is it going to have a negative impact? And that's how we look at it. That's why, look, on some of the other ones, we're getting questions about, is there enough room for the septic? It's really not in our view. That's going to be the Board of Health, and they're going to have to jump that hurdle. So they're going to have additional hurdles to jump through. This is just the first one, so they can then get in front of the planning board because they can't do anything without a special permit.
Got it.
So,
And if I may, would we potentially face, I guess I'm asking, or perhaps saying that perhaps we would face a peer review as well in the planning board,
I'm sure. So is it still using Beta?
Oh,
Is
Beta,
it
yeah.
Town? I'm not.
Stormwater is an issue. The project would be peer reviewed. They used to.
Yeah, depends on what the specialty is, but everything they always hire a peer review. So, your client would have to pay for that.
yeah, but there's a anticipated level of review for that.
Yes.
If there's questions, especially if there's questions around
Yeah.
traffic. Stormwater is zero issue because we're making no changes to it except for increasing pervious, but,
Well, you're changing some elevations.
We are, however, we're getting in the weeds here, but the
That's
the
like,
storm.
what is the grading right now? It's all going to that retention area?
It goes in the back, we're literally maintaining the same catch basins here and here. The watersheds remain the same. Everything remains the same except we're adding pervious area, which of course helps infiltrate stormwater better. So we think the stormwater will not be an issue. But again, we're happy to discuss whatever the planning board wishes or their peer reviews, reviewers.
Yeah. And they got to jump through things, where snow being stored and all that other sort of stuff in the winter time.
Right.
All good questions, though. Okay, so I don't know if we have further discussion or someone wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit for a drive-through window in connection with a restaurant that will have seasonal outside dining.
Okay. Do we want to, before we're finished that, do we want to have any restriction as far as availability, times available for use of outdoor seating, or do you not want to restrict it at all?
I didn't think
Okay.
it was necessary, but if somebody wants to,
I would think this is more a seasonal business with the peak in the summer.
Right, it peak in the summer, but at 5-degree weather, not too people are sitting
Well,
outside.
New Englanders eat ice cream
Right, yeah.
14 months a year.
That's true.
Until the sun goes down, they're like, oh.
In this case, there aren't, there aren't any residences abutting that. What was a residence looks like it's a dojo now. Church across the street, and then the apartments are way in the back. And I'm not sure what the hours of operation are for the Starbucks drive-through, et cetera. And they have
Yeah.
outdoor. They don't have any outdoor seating.
no, but they do have a drive-through.
Right. So I think it's a little bit different situation. I think we're much, we want to be much more protective when there are residences abutting, but we don't have any residences abutting.
Right.
So
agree.
I just wanted to make sure that. If
Yeah,
you
I
wanted to-
didn't, I, for what it's worth, didn't think that it was necessary.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so motion is basically approve as requested. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. K steps in, he wants to get on the board. First and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, vote by hand. That is 5-0. We're a tough crowd tonight.
Much appreciated.
Well, thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
All right. Okay, has everybody had a chance to review the April 8th meeting minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Anything to add, or we'll entertain a motion?
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes from April 8th.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I will second.
Mr. K, seconds. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, vote by hand. That's 4-0, and you weren't here. Oh, Jean was here, so Jean can vote. That'd be 5-0. Okay. And entertain a motion to close.
Thank you.
I'll move to close.
Very good.
I'll second.
The second by Mr. K. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Nice to see you all.